Welcome to the Marble Sports Worldwide Podcast, where we discuss and analyze your favorite marble sports. From JMR Marble League to Algodu tournaments, we'll make sure you never miss the action. All marble sports, all the time, right here on the MSW Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Marble Sports Worldwide Podcast. My name is Brendan.
And I'm Commander Wolf.
I don't really know what I was going for there, but I tried to change it up in some way that I haven't already said. Welcome to the Marble Sports Worldwide Podcast.
I kind of picked up on it, but I couldn't really tell. Like welcome, Marble Sports fans. Like a ring announcer. That's kind of what I was going for?
I have no idea what I was going for. I just said words, and well, we're here now. So, anyways, guys, good to be back with you guys. I'm turning up and down my gain. Some of my gain is like really up and away today on the microphone.
Them gains, bro.
Yeah, them gains, man. But anyway, I got a little bit of an interesting story to tell you guys before we get into the marbles. This happened to me. Listen, this happened to me last night. Or last night, was it? Yes, last night it happened to me. And listen, I might be just out of my mind. I might have been hallucinating. I might have been just seeing things. But all I can do, the best I can do for you is tell you exactly what I saw. And maybe I'm just crazy. And that's possible. I mean, I'm sitting here talking about marbles, which aren't even living beings, competing in events that only humans can compete in. So maybe I am crazy. It's possible. It's likely. But I will report to you what I saw, all right? So last night, me and my dad, like around 9 p.m., it was like 30 degrees out at night. Remember, it was cold. Me and my dad had to take the dogs out for a walk. We have a couple dogs, a couple little Bichon Frises. So we took them out for a walk. We went out, we went down our driveway, and at the end of our driveway, there's a perpendicular street. It's a short street. It's kind of like a side dead-end street, so only our driveway is on it, and then that leads out to the main street with the other houses on them, and the main street's perpendicular to that side street. So we go down the driveway, we turn onto the side street, we head to the main street. And then the main street, down on the left, if you go to the left, you go down about 25 yards, and there's a intersection, and you go up on the other side of the street from where our street is. There's like another street that goes up there to whatever, and then if you go right, you just go down there and whatever. So we were walking. We go down, we turn onto the first street from the driveway. We go down to that intersection with the main street. There's a stop sign there. I stop. My dad's like 10 yards behind me or so. And I look to the left, right? And under the street lamp to the left about 25 yards, I see this figure, right? I see this figure there. And it's about at the intersection with the one road. So it's close enough that I can see it. Like, it's not like so far away that you can't make out anything about it. No, I could see it there. And at first I thought it was someone walking, because I don't know why anyone would be walking 30 degrees 9 p.m. at night. But I thought it was someone just taking a stroll around our little neighborhood area. But I don't know. I didn't know what it was. I looked closer, and it was just like, I was like, wow, this figure is so tall. Like, it was substantially tall. It was the first thing that came to my head after I processed the fact that I was seeing something, was like, wow, this looks like a person walking on stilts right now, out 30 degrees on a cold winter night, going around the block for some reason. And then I looked closer, and it's like it just looked all white. Like, it didn't look white like glowing white or like a bright light. No, it just looked like white, like a person wearing very bleached white clothes or something like that. And it just was walking down the street away from me. Okay, about, I don't know how far it went, but it took about 7 steps. Well, it took about 3 steps. Then I looked to my dad. I was like, Dad, do you see that? Do you see the figure walking down there? I don't know what that is. And he's like, no, I don't see anything. I turned back. My eyes shifted away from it, then turned back to it, and I still saw it. It was there. It took like 3 more steps, and then it just disappeared. And the weird thing was that the road starts to curve like about 100 yards, I'd say, from where that intersection. So you could disappear from view if you were a human walking, but it did that in 7 steps instead of the usual 50 that it would have taken a person. So that was a weird thing that I saw. I don't know what to make of it. I went around and walked over there to see if there was anybody doing anything there that would cause like some weird trick of the light. I went around the neighborhood the other way because it was like a loop where that street that he's walking on is like a loop, and I just like to see, okay, maybe there's a person just on a stroll, even though it's a weird time to be walking. To see, I'll go around the other side, see if I can see if the person's just walking, just to like calm myself. I saw nobody on going around the other way. I looked all around. I looked for like lights that people might have on their houses that could have moved, but I just saw nothing. But I can tell you, it looked like a figure, like 8-10 feet tall, white. And I saw it taking steps. I saw it taking steps like a person would, but I couldn't make out many more details. And it was weirdest thing that I think I've ever seen in my lifetime that I can't explain away. And so I don't know what it is. And yes, I could have been hallucinating, I guess, maybe. I could have been tired, though I didn't feel tired. I remember like distinctly being like, I don't feel tired tonight. I didn't even look at like my computer all day tonight either. It wasn't one of those days that I tired myself out on the computer either. So I was like, I feel like pretty good today. So I don't know. That's my story. You guys make of it what you shall make of it. But that did happen to me last night. Wuff. Anything to follow up on that?
I mean, the fact that your dad didn't see it is strange, because like you said, like you look back and they were still walking, so like your dad should have been able to see them. Maybe it was a guy wearing a morph suit, and they look like I don't know. I mean, the only confusing things for me that I just want to point out real quick, and then we'll get to marbles. Of course, marbles always be rolling. Okay, no rush. Don't forget that okay, first of all, when I see the figure, remember, it's 30 degrees. It's below freezing. 30 degrees Fahrenheit for those foreign people who do the Celsius thing. I know most worlds are Celsius, blah, blah, blah. I get it. But 40 degrees Fahrenheit, so below 0 Celsius outside. Okay? And then when I see this figure, I don't recall any clear visuals of like a coat or a hat or gloves that would like make sense in such a cold time. It's number one. Number two, it was quite tall. Okay, it looked like a person on stilts. That's an instinctive thought. I was like, person on stilts looks like, that's weird. Why would that be happening? But that's what it looked like. So this figure did not look as short as a human. Number three, there was, again, why, like 30 degrees at like 9 p.m. at night, why would you be out just taking a walk? There was no like dog or anything that the figure was with to make sense. Like it was just, no one walks at that time. Okay, and so I mean, like, I just can't. These things are weird. I cannot fathom what the heck I just saw. And like number 4 for me is like, if it was like a trick of the light, I feel like if I had like looked at it and then looked away to my dad, to said like, hey, look, and then look back. If it was like a trick of the light, I wouldn't see anything anymore. But I saw it after I looked away and looked back. So that was just freaky. But it happened. So there you have it. But yeah, anyway, I guess we move on from that, right? I mean, I don't know how to come back from that one, but we should roll ahead here. We got a lot going on today in the show, guys. We're going to talk snowboard cross. We're going to pose a very important question, in my opinion, about the validity of the ice dash. That I'm really excited for. Then we're going to reflect with Mikotan, our guest from last week. We're going to bring him back on again, and we'll be reflecting with him back on 2020, all the interesting marble sports things from 2020 for the world of marble sports and for the podcast specifically as well. So I'm very excited for those topics. We'll throw trivia in there. We'll throw your emails in there. Don't forget. And snowboard dash. Don't forget snowboard dash.
I said snowboard cross. First thing I said.
I heard ice dash.
Well, I said snowboard cross, then ice dash. Well, I was just trying to keep me
straight. Did you? I mixed the two together too. I said snowboard dash.
So you did mix them together. I didn't even notice that. You're losing your marbles right here on the podcast.
I guess I am. None of my marbles are with me in my house. They're back in my apartment, so I don't have my marbles.
Yeah, you've lost them. I mean, this is not good. But yeah, let me remind you guys, please email into the show. That's mswpodcast@gmail.com. mswpodcast@gmail.com. Perfect chance to put your marble sports opinions, to get anything off your chest, ask questions, answer questions, do whatever you want to do. We want to hear it. We want to engage with you guys because you guys are the reason that we continue to bring you this show every week. So hopefully we see more emails from you in the coming week. With that being said, Johnny Marble has a lot to say to us today, a lot going on in the marble sports community. So let's roll over to him and the Marble Sports Worldwide News.
Hello, Marble Sports fans! I am Johnny Marble, and as always, I'm coming to you for MSW. Let's get right into the news. Event 2 of the Marble League Winter Special, the Snowboard Cross, has been updated from the version back in 2018 to allow for more intense competition. Marbles were swerving back and forth down the track, with even the slightest loss of momentum being very detrimental, resulting in some very close finishes, such as Kanoan beating Bolt in Group C by only 0.01 seconds. It was a very tough battle to the end, and after a very close call, Aqua took home the gold by a mere 0.005 seconds over Bolt, leaving Hazy with the bronze. This incredible performance from the Oceanics and Thunderbolts has really shot their teams up in the overall standings, but with 4 events left, it's still anyone's game. Well, everyone, I've been Johnny Marble. You, my dear listener, have been the best fan in the world. Let's kick it back and continue on with the podcast.
And we are back from the news here on the podcast. With you is me, Marble Guy, which I don't call myself that often, but that's my name in the marble sports community other than Brendan. We got Commander Waff, and we got a returning guest from last week's episode, Mikotan. Mikotan, say hello to the world out there.
Hello, everyone.
It's good to have you back. All right,
Yes.
we were going to address the point that he wanted to discuss in the last episode, but we ran short on time, and we're going to address it in this episode, and that is looking back over 2020 and really discussing what happened in marble sports this year that's important to remember, what advancements in marble sports technology, what new events, what things to remember, maybe things for the podcast as well that we should be aware of. So we're going to get into that, but before we get into that, we got 2 things to cover, and that's going to be Snowboard Cross and my question about Ice Dash. And we are going to begin the coverage of Snowboard Cross with crossing over, see what I did there, to our Fantasy League points hauls. And Waff, you can start us off. How did you do this week in Fantasy?
I didn't enter the Fantasy for Winter League, so I can't say.
You didn't? Oh, I forgot. I forgot that you did not. That is a shame. That is a...
I mean, I would have picked Momo, I would have picked Raspberry Racers, I would have picked... I probably would have picked the Speeders just because, and then if the Snowballs, if they were in it, which I would hope they would be, I would pick them probably too.
Yeah, well, I had an okay week myself. I got 60 points, so lower than last week, and last week was not even that great with only 92. I'm sitting at a 152. Green Duck, Savage Speeders did okay for me this week. Crazy Cat's Eyes were not good this week. They did not excel in the Snowboard Cross. That was the reason why I didn't put the Crazy Cat's Eyes in my multiplier, because I did predict that the Crazy Cat's Eyes were not going to be the strong team in every event here in the Winter Marble League. Just because they're dominating in Marbula 1 does not always carry over to every different type of event that you're going to see in Marble League. In fact, to build upon the fact that I just said, Crazy Cat's Eyes got 16th in this event, which is the worst you could possibly get. And then Snowballs, Team Galactic. Snowballs did awful, getting a sad 15th. And Team Galactic actually did the best, getting 4th, but no better. So Honestly, not a great points haul. If we want to check where I am overall, it's not very good. I'm 152 in points, which means I sit in about 94 out of the 192, and I need to be in top 20 to get that expected top 10% in the fantasy league that I expect for someone like myself who claims to possibly be a marble sports connoisseur. So that's not very happy to see the outcome of the event like this. But we will move on from that and we will discuss what do we think about the event itself. I mean, let's address Snowboard Cross. Let's hit it right at its center. Do we even think this is an event that we even want to see again? Waf, maybe you start us. You know what? We'll start with our guest. Mikotan, I want you to rate the event out of 10. And then I want you to talk about whether you like it or not.
Did we rate the last week's event?
I don't remember, but we can do that when we talk about the Ice Dash afterwards, because I have a question about that as well.
Okay, so for me, so we're doing Snowboard Cross first, because that was the most recent, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Snowboard Cross, okay, so for me, if I have to rate it out of 10, correct? I want to say it would have to be a 7.5, maybe an 8 out of 10.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, so just because it's well, actually no, maybe an 8.5. Close, okay. Maybe maybe an 8.5.
All right.
Because just because the event, at least this event, it was very close battles. You're talking literally thousands of a second. So and what was it? I gotta say though, I was very surprised that the Oceanics took gold.
Oh, absolutely,
That is kind of crazy.
So, yeah, that was. Yeah, that brought upon the meme. I saw the meme about the Oceanics not liking water events, but good with frozen water events. So I thought that was a funny situation.
Literally just about to mention that.
So what do you really like about the event? Is it just the fact that it was close this year, or do you like how it's structured, or what is it?
I want to say a little bit of both, actually. So where because they kind of like going to kind of like a mini style tournament where you go sets of 4 and the top 2 advance and so on and so forth. Also, it is not an event we do see very often because the last time we saw an event like this was, of course, the Winter Marble League of 2018. So,
yeah, that's true. It's been a while. I'll agree with that.
Yeah, and now whether or not I would like to see it again, well, if the battles are this close, the competition is this fierce, then yes, I definitely would like to. I definitely would love to see this again.
Okay.
Because again, there's a lot of there's a lot of obstacles and a lot of unpredictability. That's what I love about. At least me personally, what I appreciate about the marble events.
Yeah, I think you make a decent case for the validity of this event. So Waf, what do you think?
So I think it was I feel like a 7 out of 10. Just because the structure bit, for one thing, it's way better than the original.
I will agree. It was better structured than the first Snowboard Cross, which is even more restrictive in the areas that marbles control.
And what I really love about it is because of the way it's structured, like a marble could get hung up. So even though a marble could have like a significant lead, it could actually lose that, and like it can result in really close finishes. And there were a lot of really close finishes, like the one between the Oceanics and the Thunderbolts. I think one of them happened with the Raspberry Racers and I believe the Hazers. It's my memory's a little fuzzy in that one, but overall I think it was definitely solid. I should have definitely looked this up beforehand, but isn't this literally the exact same as an event from the normal Marble League that happened in 2020 or 2019?
What, the Gravitrack Slalom? No, that was quite different.
Was it called the Gravitrack Slalom?
I mean that was an event, and it was not the same as a Snowboard Cross. I'd have to go check, but nothing comes to mind right off the top. If anyone in the live chat happens to know what he's talking about, throw that in there. We might know, but nothing comes to my head immediately when you say that.
Not the Gravitrax Slalom. No. It was it was on Gravitrax track. It was one of the events that the Crazy Cat's Eyes did rather good on. It was near the end.
Oh, they might have even had this event. Yeah, you're right. And now that I think about it,
I'm trying to think. What was the name of it?
I don't remember. That's a good question.
Marble Marathon? No.
I don't know.
I think it was 2019. I think actually instead, not 2020.
Yeah, you'd have to find that. So while you're finding that, I'll give my opinion. My opinion is the opposite of theirs. For me, this is a 3 out of 10 at best. I do not like this event at all. It's one of my least favorite Marble League events, actually, across all of Marble League. I just think it's bad. I think it's really bad. This is like JMR's more professional way of doing what M&H Racing does, and that is put a Plinko board down. All right?
Really?
I mean, that's what it is. That's what it is. Yes, that is 100%, in my opinion, what it is. I know that's going to upset some people because I'm sure Mikotan and WAF are not the only ones giving this event a 7 out of 10 or higher. Okay, I'm sure that's the case.
Well,
but in my opinion, I just watched. Let me get this thought out. I just watched this event, and the whole time, and I'll go back here, right here on the YouTube. You can watch with me on the YouTube right now during the podcast. I go back, and yes, of course, there's these close head-to-head finishes, which are great, but they can also appear in many different other forms of racing, like in 5-meter sprint and relays and all that. We see those finishes in many other things. Underwater racing has close finishes, but it's right here when the events where it just seems so stop-start, like jerky, like marble stuck in traffic almost during this event, where it's like they're rolling fast and they hit the side of the Gravitrax and they just stop dead for a second and then they start moving again and while it does like create for a very lead changing type of race, it's just to me just tough to watch with all the like fast moving stopping immediately, just this hackneyed progress, and it's very tough for me to watch. I don't enjoy it. It doesn't feel as smooth as like any of the other racing events, and it also doesn't feel. It's kind of like you have two different types of events in Marble League. You got the racing ones where things flow really well. You got 5-meter sprint, relay race, everything's racing, everything's moving fast. Underwater race, they're moving slower, but they're still moving at all times. And then, of course, you have other events like long jump, which are, you move and then you stop, but you're the point is the stop is necessary to measure what's going on. With this, it's like you're getting this stop-start jerky feeling in something that's supposed to be a race, and it's just not working for me. It really isn't working for me at all. I don't enjoy it. I feel like it restricts the movements of the marbles too much. So that's my reasoning. And if you guys disagree, of course, emails are always something we love to see you send in, and maybe you have a different opinion on it. But unfortunately, that's where I stand right now. I will say this, and that is. I think it can be improved. I think that it can be at least go from a 3 out of 10 for me to like a 6 out of 10 if you just widen the board. Maybe make the board a little bit longer if you have the space, but then widen it so that it's like instead of 3 Gravitrax hexes wide at the longest point, maybe 6, and maybe you kind of randomly put the gray hexes in at random spots just to kind of keep it a little plinko-y, a little like, oh, you have to avoid obstacles, but there's more chance for like speed, there's less jerky motions, or less just getting stuck and bounding back and forth, or maybe get some smoother curves on these objects. Either way, for me, it's just too stop and start for an exciting event, even though sometimes the marbles end up very close at the end of the race. So you guys can cash in on that now, but that's what I think.
So I finally found it was the 2019 elimination race, and there are some minor differences, like the spacing in the gray blocks is different, and like it's not as tightly packed. Like it's in this one it's more consistently like tightly packed to create that crisscross motion that actually happens in real life snowboard crossing. So I think it's different enough to actually create that feeling to where I would say that it being similar to the elimination race does not take points away from me. But like it is definitely dangerously close in some ways. Also, the elimination race also had like the the spring-loaded like ball bearings that get launched into the area, and like near the end, like the little hexagons that launch. So there are things that were different between the elimination race and this. So it's not unoriginal, and it actually is well thought out. Because again, like it really, and I'm just now really appreciating it, but like seeing like the way that they created the crisscrossing motion, like to actually emulate what the real snowboard cross is really nice. Like I was really curious how they're going to do that, and like that, it honestly makes a lot of sense what they did there.
All right. I mean, you make a good defense on the other side, but for me, it's just not doing it. Mikotan, anything else you want to say about it?
I mean, the way how I'm going to say it is that, I mean, one, you are entitled to your opinion. Okay, everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
So, if you and I disagree with that, that's fine. There are events that people that are that people are going to like, and there are going to be events that, well, there's going to be people that that people are just not going to enjoy for whatever reason. Either because it's like, oh, it's not, either it's not smooth enough, it's not. It doesn't showcase the marbles as well. Like they're just like it doesn't flow right. But I mean, I do have to point out that it is different. It's something a little bit different. And yes, it was definitely improved from 2 years ago. I can definitely admit that. Whether it's my favorite event, no.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like there needs to be more effort to kind of. Maybe make it so that it's a little bit different than just the same kind of Plinko thing the whole time. Maybe have it like start like that, but then like kind of funnel into some just flat racing, then go back into that a little bit, just so that things feel a little bit faster. Things feel a little more like there's racing and there's movement, and honestly, the moguls with the sand is really a better way to kind of put forth something like a snowboard cross than to just put gravitrax, because actual snowboard cross is not, it's not like giant walls that you have to avoid. It's more hills. It's more hills and slopes. So if they could somehow incorporate that in there and kind of allow the marbles to be kind of moving back and forth betwixt the hills, I mean, maybe that would be better. But right now, for me, the stop and start kind of detracts a lot from it. So I mean, yeah, there you have it. I mean, 3 different opinions, absolutely, on what we think about this event. But yeah, I mean, besides the Oceanics, any standout competitors you guys want to shout out here?
Definitely. Go ahead. Walt, you want to go first?
Aqua. So definitely Aqua, like showing that like the Oceanics are making their way up. Like they're getting used to frozen water events, so soon they'll be good at water events, maybe.
I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it's colder where they're from.
Looking at the while they are very, very different. Like looking at the original Snowboard Cross, Shore was the one who raced for them last time, got 15th place. So this is it is a different beast compared to what it was before. The fact that they did jump up 14 places is still something to point out and to commend, I'd say.
Yeah, and for me, stand out in the negative way would be Crazy Cat's Eyes. Of course, what happened, right? I mean, they just had no ability to get, the speed and make any moves past marbles, and they were hitting every block. I mean, what was going on with them out there, right? So that's a standout for me. I mean, Snowball's kind of as well. These are cold events, should be for them, but I mean, yeah, not good for them. But some of the better teams that we usually see from Savage Speeders, Green Ducks, Raspberry Racers, Team Galactic were able to at least hold a middle of the pack scenario at their worst. Our Rangers picked up 7th. Midnight was picked up 9th. So to me, it's kind of a little bit embarrassing that the Crazy Cat's Eyes would get dead last in an event like this. So not exactly what I want to see. But then again, everyone has their bad days. Something we should point out while we're here is that all opinions about the quality of this event aside, if I just look at this event and think about the strategies marbles need to take when doing this event, I mean, it seemed very clear that the snowboard cross motion that Waff was talking about was the best way to handle this event. Hit the one side of the white barriers, flip back over to the other, and just stay in front. I see right here, you see I don't know what marble that is, but for a few legs there, he was out in front because he was able to keep that going. I mean, obviously, some marbles get that lucky thing where they thread the needle and slide right down and skip a whole bunch of skips. But the consistency stays if you can just go back and forth and and then just keep that nice and even back and forth. So you don't have those situations like the crazy cat's eyes did many times where you get caught up behind one of these things and stop dead, lose all momentum in all direction, which happened a few times to crazy cat's eye snowballs and the likes of them. So that was a strategy for that event, definitely. Did you guys see any other interesting strategies that you want to point out?
Well, I mean, first off, I want to obviously give a shout out to my favorite team, of course, the Hazers. Hazing.
Oh, absolutely. They really brought forth a good burst of speed during this event.
Of course. And, Hazy, of course, got bronze, so still on the podium. But that does actually move them to the overall leaders of this relatively short event. So I can't be unhappy about that now, can I?
No, I don't think you can.
Yeah, so
I don't think you can. If your team is picking up third place in the event, and if you look at the Hazers, they picked up second in the last event.
2 medals.
You should be the happiest man alive.
2 medals. No, two medals for 2 events. And there's only 6 events. Yeah, I'm pretty happy. But definitely, one of the other things which, it's a bit of a shout out, but I am really glad that JMR was doing like the little meet and greet for the event.
Oh yeah.
Like they
at the beginning, I think.
Yeah, they actually got Lewis Marbleton. He's a big guy. Yeah.
I mean, and they got Lewis out there. They got red number 3 out there. They got the Rangers out there, and this kind of these kind of meet and greets are very useful and for building that fan camaraderie. And like if you talk about, of course, in the role play with the actual marbles, it's very meet and greets are always awesome for the fans. But outside of that, for the people watching the video. All right, to see, like, for an Rangers fan or a red number 3 fan to come into the Snowboard Cross video, realizing the Rangers are not having the best year, realizing red number 3 is not having the best year, but then getting to see them sitting upon these chairs and the fans swarming around, you as an Rangers fan or you as a red number 3 fan are like, wow, that's awesome. They're highlighting these competitors as worthy competitors, as notable competitors out in the marble sports environment. So I just think for the viewers of at least of these particular teams, it was very nice to be able to see that out there. Absolutely.
And also, I was going to mention real quick too. It's obviously just like in our human world, when we see all these athletes, these big name athletes, these Olympic athletes, and you see them competing, you see them on TV or on your computers and such, but to be able to see them outside of that competitive environment, it serves in a way to they are really the best of the best, but it shows that it humanizes them. And why can't we do the same? Why can't we do the same for the marbles? But most of the time, yes, we always see these marbles, these athletes, competing, in the event. We do not see them that often. Outside of that, just being people, talking with their fans, engaging
gives them
with
personality, gives them a real character to see them doing things other than just putting their head down and racing.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
To kind of come out of the role play, who is the marble on the left at the meet and greet? Like, is that a reference that I'm not just privy to?
Lewis. Okay, so the one on the left, is Lewis Marbleton, Lewis Hamilton. He is the Grand Prix champion, won the F1 champions.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that's a nice reference.
I know of him because I listened to the Bill Burr podcast, and Bill Burr is into F1, and he's always mentioning Lewis Hamilton as the guy just somehow always he wins a lot. He's just like almost always out in front, and as soon as he gets out in front in first place, pretty much he stays there the whole time, almost every time.
Yeah.
So,
be careful because there's a lot of racing fans out there
or Formula One fans, and if you have not heard of Lewis Hamilton, whoo, you can get into some big trouble right there. But putting that aside, yeah, that's so Lewis Hamilton, Lewis Marvelton.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, back into the role play.
All right, nice. So good. As we head back into the role play, let's switch over to Ice Dash really quick, and then after trivia, we'll spend the rest of the episode looking back on 2020. So Ice Dash, two things we're gonna do. We're all gonna go around quickly, rate the event out of 10, and then I'm gonna propose a question I'm very excited about. So I'll start actually for this one. Ice Dash. For me, Ice Dash is it's a good event. I love Ice Dash, and it's something that I feel is just a staple of Marble League. Just straight out racing. Speed is key. Events like that. So for me, Ice Dash would probably fall about an 8 out of 10. It's good to be there. It almost has to be there to round out a good Marble League in the winter. And it's an exciting event. There's no barriers between the marbles. In the 5-meter sprint, as opposed to the 5-meter sprint, so that's nice too. And you just kind of get to see the marbles free for all, fast as they can down the line, crossing over, bumping into each other, just pushing it all forward towards the bottom. And I think that creates for some very exciting, smooth racing. For me, 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I would go with a 7. It's pretty solid. I'm trying to figure would I rate this? That's the same number I gave. Like would I really rate this and Snowboard Cross the same? I think both of them. I think they're both 7s for me. I think both very solid. They had some really great moments. Lots of close finishes that lead to some really interesting racing.
And in this case, I will definitely have to agree with Marble Guy here. There is beauty in simplicity. So I have to rate it 8.5 out of 10. So as you said, no barriers. It's just as soon as the thing starts, just simply race down to the finish line. That's it. Very simple.
Right.
And is there a little bit of movement and a little bit of blocking like that? A little bit, but in this case, no, not really. I mean, so I will say though, what was it? The bottom of the course comes up really, really fast, and where everyone's a little bit scared what happened with Momo and Starry, yes, but I do you do have to give it up to the professionals, to the JMR the medical team, who rushed there and they were on them right away. So I definitely definitely props to them.
Well, that brought up something that we haven't mentioned in such a long time. They really could do a lot better with the safety. These marbles are putting their lives can be on the line, or at least their careers if they get seriously injured. It's having something that's more cushiony to help save them or keep them from injury. Something that's maybe softer, styrofoam would be even better. But something like a soft, like a
foam.
I don't know, just a normal foam. Like a foam, yeah.
I agree with that. I feel the object they ram into at the end of racing could very easily be something quite a bit softer. I think besides that, though, you have to keep in mind that injuries are common in sports. In fact, marble sports has only had one notable injury and a couple made-up ones. Even though the marble was fine, they wanted to add some story and lore to it. No. So the one notable injury, the one actual injury would be
like full-blown actual injury, yes, but I feel like it's in roleplay. I'm accepting the roleplay injuries, the more recent ones, because Momo flying back into Starry, that was pretty hard. That definitely the one where the Ruzzy or during the 2020, that person didn't feel that one a whole lot, but that was the same catch basin, and and that's what they got, and they got injured there. It's if they already have a history of marbles getting injured, consider injured just from hitting the wall in that catch basin, shouldn't they have improved it by now?
I would agree. I would agree, with the exception of the wall, though. With the exception of that, because that should be fixed. It's like Lego brick right now. I'm looking at Ice Dash here on the YouTube. With the exception of that, we need to accept that injuries happen. Injuries are going to happen, and that's part of the sports. But of course, like you're right, JMR should be doing everything they can to maintain safety and making the ice dash end be a little bit just less little softer when they ram into it. In my opinion, would be very important. So
yeah, it was Razzie who got like they got hurt when they ran into the wall.
I was going to mention too. There's I do feel I have to point this out. There's a reason why the marbles racing out there are the professionals. Okay? They're the reason why they're the best of the best. Yeah. I mean, to even be able to participate in the Marble League is an honor in and of itself. Okay? And to be able to
agreed.
Be able to compete and to be able to actually win medals, really proves that they are literally the best of the best. So I'm pretty sure that when they signed up, they understood the risk that they were taking. Or JMR over the years has been slowly improving safety, but regardless, there are always going to be those risks, and I'm pretty sure for the marble athletes, for the competitors, they understand the risks that they take. So,
you're right. Like that's a risk that all athletes take in all sports. Like just a few seconds ago, like on screen, if our YouTube watchers were watching, they could have seen how Hazy got launched out of the catch basin because the wall wasn't high enough.
We go back to that maybe.
It was just a few seconds. It was about a minute before in the last heat before this one, I think. They are all three three marbles were all just grouped together on the left corner.
Take a look here. Look, they grouped together. Hazer's coming down and back and comes out and right out. I mean, that's dangerous, but danger is a part of the sport, and they could do a little bit better job with the safety, but remember, marble sports is still early and getting started. Live and learn over time. So again, so one more thing before we move on to trivia and then our reflection on 2020. And this is something I've been excited to talk about, and just kind of want to get your opinions on it. So I've been thinking about ice dash. I've been thinking about 5-meter sprint. I've been thinking of how similar they are, but there's one very distinct difference between the two, and that is 5-meter sprint keeps the marbles in their lanes, and ice dash does not do that. Ice dash leaves the marbles to move about, ram into each other, roll diagonally. So my question to you guys, my question that I don't even know if I really have a side in this debate yet, but I want to form one, and that is, which of the two events, from 5-meter sprint or ice dash, is a better, a better test of the marble's true speed out there on the course? Which event is a better, more accurate, more just pure test of a marble's true speed?
5-meter sprint.
Okay, which
Hands
event?
down, 5-meter sprint. That's not even a competition. That's not a question.
All right. Well, I'm going to advocate for the other side, but I want to hear you explain why.
So, 5-meter sprint, in my opinion, it is a classic, absolute classic competition, and as a sport.
Okay.
Number two, it's designed in such a way where a competitor can just focus on, from the starting position to the end of the finish line, and that's it. It's just pure sprinting. That's it. You don't have to worry about anything else. Mm-hmm. Now, the ice dash is, similar, but now you're kind of, you have to be a little bit more strategic, okay? Because now you have to then worry about the, about your surroundings. You also now have to worry about perhaps getting blocked or being bumped by the other three competitors. So, in a sense, there's a little bit more strategy, a little bit more obstacles. But if you're just talking about just pure skill and speed, 5-meter sprint, for me, hands down.
Okay, that is a valid and respectable stance, Mikotan. Waf, why don't you cash in?
So I would say that the 5-meter sprint is a better test of speed, while the ice dash is a better test of skill. Because in the 5-meter sprint, There is no drafting, no interference. It's just you down a hill. But in the Ice Dash, you have the ability to draft behind an opponent marble, ricochet off of them to get more distance and speed down the hill if you so choose. Like, there's a lot more strategy that goes into the Ice Dash, which can test their marble skills and problem solving to a certain degree, whereas the Ice Dash is just a test of their raw ability.
All right, interesting.
Oh, sorry, Sprint. I think it said Ice Dash.
500 sprint, yeah.
Dash hat. Oh, sorry, Sprint. Jeez, the names.
You're having trouble.
Okay. Yes,
You're
I have.
rolling in the wrong direction.
Just reiterate, in case I might have messed up and I don't realize it. Ice Dash is a better test of skill and strategy, where 5 meter sprint is just a better test of raw ability and strength.
All right, valid answers. Now I'm going to, as I always do to keep things interesting, I'm going to advocate for the other side, because you guys both gave a very strong and confident answer supporting a 5 meter sprint as the better test of a marble's pure speed. But I think that you guys are neglecting a lot of very small details about each of the two events. And so in my opinion, now I'm not 100% sure either way on this, so my opinion is still hazy. See what I did there? Hazy, Ricochet. My opinion is still a little hazy either way. But I'm going to put my opinion on the side of Ice Dash here and point out some very important factors that you guys aren't considering. I want you to think about 5 meter sprint. I want to point out something very important. In 5 meter sprint, yes, the glaring aspect of 5 meter sprint is the fact that the marbles are separated. They don't have to worry about ramming into each other. They don't have to worry about moving around each other. They're separated in their lanes. But in my opinion, the fact that they're in lanes is what detracts from the validity, the pureness of 5 meter sprint. Because if you watch 5 meter sprint, and I mean for every marble, for every single one, in every single 5 meter sprint, every done in Marble League, you will see multiple times the marble have bump off the sides of those particular lanes, back and forth, wobbling back and forth as they roll down the 5 meter sprint track. And so in that lateral motion, where they not only do they have some lateral motion, okay, but they also have to change the direction of their lateral motion, back and forth as they go downwards, as they bounce off the one wall, and then they bounce off the other wall, and then they go back to the other. And then it takes away from the marble being able to gain speed, because all that lateral motion is decreasing the top speed that the marble can reach. So in my opinion, because of that, because of those lanes, those restrictive lanes, it doesn't make it more of a pure test. It detracts from the pureness of the racing. And so my argument for Ice Dash, and if you look here on the YouTube as you see some of the races, I'll put some of them back up. Let's see them go here. You'll see that marbles take diagonal motions. Look at here, Thunderbolts right here, diagonal motion to the right side. Green Ducks slowly move leftward over the course of the racing. And so that's in my opinion, more pure test, because there's not that wobble back and forth that you see in 5 meter sprint. And yes, you have a valid and very, very hard to talk around argument that, there's other marbles in the course, and that's going to change the fact that it's from pure speed and you're focusing on yourself to actually putting strategy out there. But I would say that in a 5 meter sprint race, or Ice Dash race, otherwise, Ice Dash race, where the marbles don't have much collision, which not all of them they have much collision. Some of them have a couple, some of them almost not at all. Those marbles that don't collide with any other marbles don't really need to worry about that and need to just focus on going straight, and they don't have to worry about hitting the railings back and forth. So they're straight as possible motion. They'll go slightly diagonal. That is the purest speed that we can see from a marble. So my opinion, or at least possibly in my opinion, I haven't really choosing a stance on that yet. It's hard, but I'm going to propose that there could be an opinion for the fact that Ice Dash is indeed a more pure test of a marble's overall speed out there, just rolling straight down.
Yeah, I neglected to mention the walls. I didn't think it mattered as much, but then you reminded me of just how much they bounce, and then it does make a big difference. So that led me to an idea to potentially fix that. Instead of having the walls, what if they were all lined up neck and neck, but they raced down corsetti rails? That keeps them all in a straight line, but no bouncing.
Okay, you have the beginnings of a good idea. My problem with corsetti rails is that they're very bendable, and first of all, they look bad. My opinion, number one.
Well, the idea I was thinking of was like you would lay it flat on the red ramp that the 5-meter sprint is on,
but
so you wouldn't see it. So it would blend in nicely. It wouldn't bend. It would just be flat, and then they would just roll down that. So that keeps them straight without having to worry about bouncing around and losing momentum with extra friction. Heck, you have less friction than being on the ground because like the rail would contact it less. I think.
Maybe.
I guess the rail would touch it maybe more than just the flat ground beneath it.
Well, I feel like what you're doing with that is really like restricting all lateral motion, which on the ice dash, you see lateral motion is not really restricted. It's just there's less walls to bounce off of. And I don't know if that's necessarily the best way. In my opinion, I would kind of imagine like taking like a more solid piece of track, not like the plastic bendable corsetti, but more like just the wood that they use for the track and carving out some sort of a, semicircle like trough for the marbles to race down so that if they move laterally, they're not hitting walls back and forth, but they're really just kind of, rolling up the sides laterally, and kind of wobbling as opposed to bouncing. And that would kind of lend more towards that straight downward speed and kind of keep marbles in the center, because if it's a trough, then that gravity always going to be pushing them to the center, which would allow for marbles to every marble to have that advantage of more staying in the center, and we can really test raw speed at that point. So that's what I would do, honestly. I guess corsetti rails would be a possibility, but I feel like they restrict the lateral motion even a little bit too much.
I gotcha. That's fair enough. And I guess that brings up something that an interesting point that I just came up with. Like a lot of this that's what Marble League is clearly like a parody of real life Olympics. But how much what's more important to you like emulating like the real life sport as much as you can, or like embracing the uniqueness of what the marbles are and trying to embrace it, because in real life 5-meter sprint it's just a straight shot. Like there's no real bobbing and weaving. Like if you bob and weave in 5-meter sprint in real life, you're gonna lose. Like what you do it's like having that lateral motion like to kind of embrace the fact that these are marbles that roll and stuff like that. Would you say that that's more important to keep that aspect?
All right.
Or
that I'm really happy you brought that up. I'm really happy you brought that up. And then I'm going to say this, and I hope Mikotan maybe can cash in on this. In my opinion, at this point in marble sports, it matters to me 0% if we emulate the real human events anymore. It matters to me 0%. I do not care what the events look like in the real Olympics. I do not care what Formula One looks like in real life. I do not care what the X Games look like in real life. Just predicting more towards Marble Mania X there. But it's more important to me that the marbles are accommodated. This is marble sports, and this is not Marble Olympics anymore. In Marble Olympics, I understood that need to stay really, really close to the Olympics, and I understood that need to kind of emulate the Olympics way back in the first couple of seasons because you were still working on an idea. But now we're in marble sports, 5 years in, 6 years in now. We're ready to branch out. We're ready to not be human sports emulation anymore. We're ready to be our own category of marble sports where things are adapted. Tracks are adapted. Things are changed. Things are reimagined to fit better what the marbles are going to benefit from, not what humans would benefit from, but let's put marbles in it. I mean, that's ridiculous in my opinion. So in my opinion, we're done emulating human events. We need to begin right now, and should have happened already, begin focusing ourselves on making and forming the events we currently have in marble sports and turning them into events that are only directly characterized to benefit that of the marbles participating in them. Mikotan?
Yeah. Well, you bring up some very good points there. Yeah, so
that's my job.
Yeah,
sir.
I'm just trying to. Sorry, I just had to process that for a little bit. Yeah, just but no, those are really good points, and to me, it's kind of like, as of right now, I really don't have I don't really have an opinion either way because I'm always a little bit wary about trying to change an event because, or at least too much, because the minute you do that, even the smallest tweaks, well, then one, the competitors have to retrain, they have to tweak their training for that. But number two, you also have a lot of fans that will say, "Oh, you're changing the event, and therefore you're changing the competition." So that's the part that I'm always wary about. It's like, where's that balance between, okay, you want to have some kind of uncertainty, you want to have some obstacles, but you don't want to have too many obstacles. Like, it's a very fine balance. And as of right now, I really don't have an opinion either way. But you do bring up very good points. I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I will agree. Your counterpoint that allowing for some sort of obstacle might be necessary to keep that unpredictability, and if you really do kind of make it and put them in a trough and make sure that all the marbles are optimized, then maybe you could just almost predict who's going to win every single time because of that. But on the other side of the coin, I feel for something like 5-meter sprint. I feel like 5-meter sprint that specific event out of the 16, because remember there's 16 in Marble League, that 5-meter sprint should be one that's optimized so that it could be almost predicted every year who's going to win, because 5-meter sprint should be a pure raw speed test where it's like, okay, we're putting all luck aside, we're putting unpredictability aside, we're putting everything aside, we're taking these marbles how they are, we're putting them on the 5-meter sprint track, and we want the fastest one in raw speed. And if that means, making it so that you could almost predict the winner every single time down to the millisecond, then so be it, because that's what should be for that one single event out of the 16 in Marble League, in my opinion. But anyway, I think at this point we're going to need to head towards the trivia segment, so I hope that we can go there. Do we have the music? I hope we have the music. Let's play that music.
Did he need to put my opinion real quick on that?
Oh, if you want to. I didn't know you wanted to throw one in there, but go ahead. Yeah, we have to move on if we want to get to the 2020 stuff.
Your point about not being a parody of the Olympics anymore, just because the name has changed, that was not their choice. At the end of the day, while the name is different, we all know that this is still a parody of the Olympics.
Shouldn't be anymore. Is what I'm saying.
But I do get what you're saying. And one of our live chatters, kind of mentioned how it really is kind of a mix of it, like hurdles and 5-meter sprint and stuff like that. Those are clearly events based on the Olympics. But then you have things like collision and I just completely blanked. What are other events? Wolf doesn't remember for some reason. But you name the thing that your brain allows you to, and you. But there are other events, I'm sure. I just can't remember for some reason. I feel so stupid. Block pushing is
very important. Yeah.
There's a mix of marble-based events that are very, very much original and that probably aren't, as far as I'm aware, not really based on anything in real life, or I guess from human sports, I should say. Whereas there are some that are. So I guess I guess it's fine how it is. I think having that mix is good. Well,
here's the thing. So the question, the question really should be like this. So this is the way how I see it. Right now, JMR, they have basically two options. They can keep Marble League as a kind of parody of the Olympics, because it always will sort of, be like that. But the second option they have is to hey, we have this really cool thing, instead of just doing parody, let's just do our own thing. Let's just do an event purely, that is us, purely we invent something that is, for marbles, and that's not necessarily based on, any Olympic style. So you really have two options. Do you continue to stay as a parody, or do you try to move past that? So that's the way how I'm going to see it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that we could get into long hours of conversation about what MR should do, why they should do it, and we will probably cover those topics more in the future. But we got to get to trivia if we're going to do our reflection on 2020 to end out the episode here. So let's head to trivia. Play that music real quick. We're going to head to trivia. We're going to get through those questions and come back and end out the episode with some reflection.
Now it's time for the trivia segment. Come on now, let's go, go, go. Go, go, go.
All right, so I hope the music is played at this point, and I'll actually start us off with a trivia question because I got one actually today, Waf.
All right.
Okay. There's only one team in the first 2 Winter Marble League events that has placed the same place in both events. Which team is it? Name it. You have one guess, both of you. Only one. Only one team who has done as much.
Who placed the same in both years?
Yep, and if you name the team and name the place the same in the first 2 events of the Winter Marble League.
Oh, like overall?
No, place the same in Ice Dash as they placed in Snowboard Cross.
Oh, okay.
You were so confused. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
I would have given you a very different answer.
Yeah, name the team, name the place. We'll start with Waf, I guess.
I might be thinking for a while, so Miko, if at any point you get an answer...
Miko, if you got an answer, you throw it out.
I want to say Orangers took... I want to say it was Orangers. They took 8th twice.
Okay. Solid. Fair.
The Minty Maniacs took... I want to say 6th both times.
Okay. The answer is the Green Ducks with 7th. Mini Maniacs took 10th in the first and 11th in the second. Very close.
Oh, okay.
And the Rangers took 9th in the first and 7th, tied for 7th in the second. So very close, both of you. Guys were at least got teams that were only like 1 off, so not bad. But there you go. So, Waf, why don't you continue us along here?
All right. I also have a trivia question for this week. So, in the Snowboard Cross, there was only one marble that had competed in Snowboard Cross in 2018.
Really?
Who is that marble, and how much of a difference in position did they have?
Interesting. Well, I'll throw out. I always throw. Well, actually, I'll let Miko. I always like talk out my reasoning. So maybe Mikotan, if you have an answer, you can throw that out there as well. But if you want to hear my dumb reasoning, you can listen. Here's my reasoning on this one. We know teams that it cannot be. Okay, we know it can't be Green Ducks because they didn't start till 2019. Okay, we know in the same way it can't be Mini Maniacs because they weren't here in 2018. Okay, so we can rule out 2. Okay. And then the fact that there's only one, which means that it's not really helpful to continue to rule out teams. More just consider which team would be likely to have chosen a similar marble, and I feel like that team would be a team that would have placed higher. All right, I'm gonna rule out rookies because I don't feel like any of the rookies did especially well in 2018. So, I mean, I kind of land on a veteran team that did well in the past, in this past event. That would leave me with Thunderbolts, Galactic, Savage Speeders. I feel like I lean Savage Speeders because they're usually a team that likes to stay constant with their performances. They finished second in 2018, which means they probably were happy with that finish. So I'm going to say Savage Speeders with a place difference of probably about 2. Maybe they finished 4th in 2018 and 6th this year. What do you think, Mikotan?
Ooh, I want to say, to be honest, I actually want to say Galactic.
That's another great guess.
Did you do you have a specific marble in mind, both of you? Like marble name?
I would say Savage Speeders. Well, you said the one that's the only one stayed the same. So Wizzy,
right.
Obviously.
I wanted
to think
gotcha.
Galactic would be Astron.
Yeah, I was thinking of Astron. It's definitely not Starry, but I was thinking Galactic with Astron. Anyways.
But Astron did perform in this event, so yes, you'd be saying he also performed in 2018.
Yeah.
All right, so what is it?
So, okay, before we go, I do want to point out that the Team Maniacs were in 2018. That was their debut year.
That was a rookie year.
Does that change your answer at all?
Absolutely does not change my answer.
Miko, does that change your answer?
No, does not.
All right. The answer is Snowstorm from the Snowballs. And they went from 10th in 2018 to 15th this year.
Ooh, interesting.
Interesting. So not great to begin with, and dropped even lower. Snowstorm came into my mind the Snowballs would keep their stuff the same because it's winter, but they kind of floated out there. I figured it'd be a more veteran team that performed a little bit better. But hey, you know what?
Right.
Stand to be corrected. That was a tough one.
I mean, and to give them credit and stuff, this was a different version of Snowboard Cross. So their skill, like that's probably why all the other teams didn't pick the same marble, because before they did good, but this is not how it was before, and it worked for some of them, like the Thunderbolts, for instance. They got they stuck, they went from third to second with just a simple marble change. So I mean, that clearly worked.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least
so Mikotan, do you have a trivia question today?
Yes, I do.
Nice.
Okay, so as of the 2021 Marble League, this year's Marble League, what are the only 4 solid color teams? You gotta name all 4.
So the 4 solid color teams in this year.
Well, I mean, of the 28, the 28.
Of the 28, there's only 4 solid color teams. Ooh.
I'm pretty sure.
So the Rangers, in 2020, in 2020, the Pinkies were solid colored. Do we count that or no?
I guess you can count them. No, because the idea is that there's 28 teams that will participate, or that are eligible to participate. That's what I mean.
Oh.
28 official ML teams as of 2021. So you can't count. So you
Pinkies is one of them.
Meaning not past teams, the current team.
Okay, so Rangers, Snowballs,
Rangers, Snowballs, absolutely.
2 of the obvious ones.
No,
if you really want to get technical, I think like some of the zoomed in shots of some of the orange marbles in the stands, that you can see slight swirls in them. So I wonder if maybe some of the Rangers also aren't technically fully solid.
Rangers seem pretty solid. Snowballs are definitely solid.
There are 4.
This is hard. I guess Pinkies is a valid guess until they take the uniform change. So I'd say old Pinkies, if that's one I could say.
Well, Miko just said that we're not gonna count them. So.
I mean, I guess you could count. I guess you could.
Chocolatiers.
Okay,
Chocolatiers, right?
Old Pinkies. Chocolatiers, they are translucent actually,
but they're still solid colored.
Well, by that logic, I guess it's true. He didn't say I guess they are technically. There's slight different shades in brown.
Well, let's say Chocolatiers. I mean, we gotta say something here.
Yeah. Fair enough. Chocolatiers. Jungle Jumpers. They're pretty solidly emerald green.
Jungle Jumpers is the only other one I could possibly think of. I can't think of any other teams that stick out to me as particularly...
Raspberry Racers? No. There's some shades of pink in them. Sometimes.
No, they're not completely solid. So that's what I'd say. Jungle Jumpers. Chocolatiers, Snowballs, and Old Rangers, and Old Pinkies. What do you got for us?
So actually, when I checked, it is Old Rangers and Snowballs. Those are easy. Old Pinkies, right? If they don't switch back to their colors, and Mellow Yellow.
Oh, yeah! How did we forget Mellow Yellow?
Wow!
Oh. That's that's one of my favorite teams.
And you forgot about them.
How did I forget that?
Wow.
I guess because I didn't see. Oh, I'm sorry.
Familiar face.
Anyways,
wow.
Do you guys want to move on to the recap for 2020?
Yeah, we're gonna let's play that trivia music to head back to the show. And then we're gonna talk 2020, guys. Hope the music played.
That was the trivia segment. Now let's head back to the show. The show. Oh.
All right, good. Music played. Okay, so we're back here. Sorry for forgetting Mellow Yellow to you Mellow Yellow fans. I'm a Mellow Yellow fan too, so I'm just deeply upset about my performance there. But yeah, we're going to end the show by reflecting on 2020. and we're just going to kind of talk. I mean, 2020 has been quite a year, and it's been very busy marble sports wise. It's been very busy for the podcast. We had some good guests on, I think, at the beginning of 2020, long time ago. So I think, but those kind of weren't really a part of 2020. But for the podcast, I'll at least start with that, and then we move on. But the podcast, big things in 2020 to remind you guys of. Remember, there was a lot of drama with me as I went over to Fubeca for that period of time where I did commentary and worked as the committee president for them. They began Marble Circuit just as JMR began Marbula 1, and there's controversy that will never end over who copied who and who had the idea first, or if they both had the idea separately or they both copied. Tons of controversy that I'm not getting into. Then I was a part of that, but then Fubeca, towards the end of the summer, showed some dishonesty in his videos, and I resigned from that position and rejoined the JMR community, who very patiently and graciously accepted me back into the community to be a part, and I'm thankful for that. Otherwise, besides that, the podcast has just been going strong. We've been just continuing to crack out these episodes weekly, discuss what's going on in the world of marble sports, and just really enjoying just the whole crazy year that marble sports has offered us this year. So podcast-wise, we're moving forward. We're a couple months away from hitting the end of our second year of doing the show, which is pretty awesome and crazy to think about.
Yeah.
We're hitting episode 100 soon, and we're hoping to continue growing larger, to getting more listeners and building this community as JMR continues to grow larger and build their community. So
yeah, it's pretty crazy because like when we started out, the show was not it was not weekly. Like, back when you first was doing it on your own, Brendan, like you were kind of, I don't think you really had a schedule. I think you was kind of like whenever
bi-weekly,
you felt like it.
Sometimes it
and then
weekly,
when we did together, we were bi-weekly for a little bit. So like the gap in episodes for the first year was a lot bigger. But like to put into perspective, like on December 30th, like that's was episode 28 released, and then like the first episode that actually released in 2020 was episode 29. 28 was the Tonio episode, and 29 was when Wolves tried out for the half host position. So like just to give perspective, like that's how we've done since then. Like almost
that's crazy.
Almost 60 episodes in that 1 year.
That's ridiculous.
Like a lot of what we the experimentation that we went through is what started in 2020. 2020 was the year of experimentation and trials and tribulations for the show. Definitely.
And I think we've kind of pulled tighter together. I think we're going to be moving forward. I'm really hoping that we can continue to build this community, though. You know, we've been doing better. We've been moving towards the flat 200 listeners per episode, as opposed to we were barely hitting 100 probably about 6 months ago. But we want to continue to grow. We want to continue to stimulate this community and bring you guys into it. That's why your feedback and your emails are appreciated, because that's how we're going to continue to change and grow. And that's that's why we hope to bring some bigger members of the Marble Sports community on, like Melikis and things like that, so we can so you guys can see and hear from them firsthand. So. Other than that, it's the podcast 2020, but there's a lot in Marble Sports 2020 in general. We'll take a few minutes to talk about that. Mikotan, is there anything just bursting on your mind that you want to recall from 2020 that you want to just put out there?
I mean, I really prepared for this one. Well,
Throw it all out there and we'll see
all right,
what
let's
sticks.
go for it then. Well, obviously, for those of you listening in, 2020 has been an incredible and crazy year, not just for us humans, in our world, but also for the marble world, right? I mean,
for the marble.
Yeah, I mean, let's
right.
Let's take a look at all the events that were going on. We started 2020 with the very first season of Marbula 1. Circuit style racing, 16 teams, 32 competitors, 1 champion. Okay, then we move into Marbula E, which is a spin-off of that. Then we had the introduction of NAS Marb. Then we of course have
from Marble Speed.
We have of course the big event, for
That's
summer.
wow.
The Marble League 2020, of course. And then we of course have the Sand Marble Rally, And then we have the first half of Marbula One Season 2. So an absolutely jam-packed year for marble sports. Okay, and I think without doubt, hands down, 2020 was the Savage Speeders year. No, they won the inaugural, the very first. They won the very first Marbula One. They won the very first,
true,
Marble League back when it was still called Marble Olympics.
Absolutely, yeah. This was a big year for them until they are doing quite bad in this second.
I'll get to that portion later. So, and then when everyone thought up until event 13, event I want to say 11 or 12, everyone thought the old Rangers was going to be.
Yeah, it was.
They had a 35-point lead. And literally almost a come from behind victory. You had the Savage Speeders, take the championship by 5 points, and making history as being the first team in MO history to be crowned double champion. Only one. So, yeah. I mean, if I were them, I'd be sitting pretty happy. So. But at the same time, though, I think that level of competition and doing so many events, and not just that, but of course doing the little ceremonies, doing meeting their fans, traveling around the world, and and basking in that glory. I think eventually it's starting to really catch up to them, and we can kind of see that with Marbula One Season 2. Like, I think that they're good competitors, they're good athletes. I'm not questioning that. But I think that with all the stuff that was going on, with 2 major events and having to do all the stuff outside of that, and still trying to prep, in between and train, I think to be fair to Speedy and Rapidly, I mean, one, I'm not a Savage Speeders fan, but at the same time, I feel like they're just not able to perform at their peak, actually, without having proper rest. So, but again, that's just my opinion on that. But it was like, I say this, because I want to make sure that our listeners keep things into perspective. Just you think that, lest you think that that our year last year has been crazy. It's been crazy, pretty crazy for the marble, for the marble world as well. There's all these new things coming up, and just it's something also to consider that I've been wanting to talk about as well. So when people are talking about how some of the racers in Marbula One not doing so well, again, here's the thing: most of the teams that are formed with the intent to compete in Marble, and of course, per JMR rules, is a team of 4 plus a reserve and plus a coach, so technically 6. And what happens is that because of the way how the Marble League events are set up, you want to be able to have a variety of talents and skills, just to be able to compensate, for the more endurance ones, for the more strength-based ones, or the more speed ones. So, and then the issue with Marbula One is that you're pulling 2 racers, from that pool of 5. And most teams do have at least one good racer. For example, the Rangers, they have Clementon. Team Galactic, they have Starry. Hazers has Hazy, and so on. And so on and so forth.
Green Ducks have Mallard. I mean, Snowballs have Snowy. I mean, continue on and so forth. Even the Oceanics got a good racer. Crazy Cat's Eyes seem to have 2. Yeah, every team seems to have.
Right, but here's the thing. Keyword: most teams have at least 1, not necessarily 2. That's the problem. And exactly. And don't forget the rules for the Marbula One per JMR is that you have to have 2. That's the problem.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have to be able to split, because if there's 12 events, they can only race up to 6, which means that in theory, if you only have 1 good racer, you can win, you can place well in 6 events. But if your other teammate is not that good, that's going to weigh you down. And it can't be good or bad, because with that kind of setup, they may either have to expand the team and to have more, dedicated racers, or they have to somehow change up the format. So
maybe I think it just needs to be better chosen at the beginning of the season by the coaches who is going to be the two that are racing. Maybe some sort of mid-season trade-off if that's allowed, but that's going to get complex and will require. I think anything beyond just choosing the two marbles that will race the whole season at the beginning of the season would require a community coach system that would allow for intelligent decision by someone outside of Gel himself.
Right.
That would be my opinion on that. But I want to cut in here and sorry, go ahead. You can finish up if you had something.
Yeah, no. Long story short, I was going to say, but yeah, like this was something which I've been wanting to, to talk about. That yeah, like there's there's a lot going on, and not to discredit or not to we shouldn't put that aside. We shouldn't discredit just the sheer amount of the sheer intensity of all the stuff that's been going on, and again, I keep saying this. There's a reason why we're the ones sitting here and talking about the events and the athletes, whereas those guys out there are the ones competing. There's a reason why they're the professionals, not us.
Yeah, so, exactly. We could not expect for us to be doing that either. We're not that skilled.
No, of course not. So, but I gotta say, and I'm very glad that they were able to kind of step up. All the teams were able to step up, and were able to accommodate and be able to fit, the additional training, the additional prep work, for all the additional events. So again, definite props to not just all the teams, but to, of course, the JMR and the JMRC. So that's basically what I want to say.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I appreciate you saying that. It kind of gives some good nostalgia to look back upon 2020. When I look at 2020 Marble Sports wise, I see a year of firsts. Let's think about the first co-commentary. First time co-commentary is ever used, Greg and Jack Nichols. First Marble Sports video that represented a partnership between JMR and another company. You had, of course, Formula E and as well as the Craven Dome. You had first Marbula 1. You had first Marbula 1 champion. You had first repeat champion in Marble League. And you had first Marble Mania X ideation, because the idea started in 2020. So I guess that too is a first. It's beginning. The idea is beginning. You had first year where circuit racing was introduced to marbles. You had first year where circuit racing was introduced where an elevator was used. You had first year where circuit racing was introduced where a marble booster was used. You had first season of Racing Marble League's YouTube channel, which, by the way, is doing a lot better than people give it credit for. One of their videos is up to about 20,000 views, so they're not that bad, and they're high quality. Go check them out. I'll be doing commentary for season 2. First season of them where they have circuit racing, they have handmade track, and on top of that, they have a marble booster which replaces the elevator. First time that Marble Sports Worldwide has posted real Marble Sports content on their YouTube in 2020. Of course, that was the West Coast Marble Cross for us, so you can check that out on our channel. You have first
the new series.
Yeah, and you have first time circuit racing. I guess for Fubica, the first time the Fubica was actually the first channel to put out the marble booster. He didn't come up with that idea by stealing from Racing Marble League. No, he came up with that. So big credit to that innovation in marble sports. In my opinion, I know that Fubica drama is big deal, and I know what happened with him. I resigned because of the dishonesty he exhibited in his races. However, in my opinion, out of all that we saw this year in marble sports, Marbula 1, New Marble League, Marbula 2, Season 2, 1, Marbula E, Craven Dome, Glass Car, Marble Circuits, Racing Marble League, you name it. NASMARB even, that's, by the way, another first time marbles and cars crossed over. Out of all that we saw this year, in my opinion, the largest advancement in marble sports, the biggest innovation in marble sports was Fubica's first use of a marble booster instead of the elevator
in their marble circuits, and that was the most impressive innovation this year. Because there was a lot of good things this year, but that use of that booster that allowed the marbles to be moved from the bottom to the top without having to use an elevator that decreased their momentum to 0, to me is the biggest innovation. We see it in Racing Marble League, by the way. I think that JMR should consider working something like that out for the future. That is the biggest innovation of the year. But beyond that, go back in the recording, 2 minutes, you hear them all again. That's a ton of firsts. That's over 10 firsts. A lot of new things in marble sports this year that we're going to be able to continue to experience and build upon in the future. So because of all those firsts, think about this. We should be forgiving and understanding, and also just aware of the fact that marble sports is still at its baby beginning stages. We're not at a place where marble sports has been going on for 20 years and we can expect everything to be perfect. No, things are on the move. Things are going to be 5, 10, even 15 years before things start to plateau and be like, okay, now we need to focus on continuing to improve what we already got. No, there's a lot of firsts still. We got a lot of firsts still. We got a lot of improvement, and we got a lot of new ideas. We got a lot of new plans. We got a lot of new innovation still here in the world of marble sports. So that should be aware of. That's what I take from 2020. We're going to have to wrap up here in a second, but if anyone's got any last words, now's the best time to throw them out there.
I was going to...
I will say that...
Sorry, go ahead, Wolf.
Well, it's a lot of last words.
So I was like, I do get like your point about how like the marble booster is the biggest innovation, because like it had an influence on the Racing Marbles League, and it's definitely going to have an effect on things going forward. But I will say that the NASMARB, it was easily the biggest innovation in marble sports.
Possibly, you could make a good argument for that.
Those were handmade, but like the bases were designed and 3D printed, all that stuff. Like all of that was intricately planned for many. I'm not sure if I'd say 2 years. It might have been. It was definitely been in the works. Well,
that would of course present the argument of, is NASMARB really marble sports, or more like a hybrid, and just like where that innovation really an innovation that's going to benefit marble sports channels? Not really. NASMARB is not going to help JMR, Marble Fubeca, Racing Marbles, whatever.
I guess
it's a great innovation, but it's not like an innovation that's so impactful that it's going to benefit these big channels. It's an amazing innovation, but it's more of a hybrid situation, more of like that would be more a first for me, that would represent the largest pushing of borders in marble sports this year. That's what I would say.
But it does
not necessarily the largest, most impactful engineering innovation in marble sports.
It does show the other channels, though, that like that you can go way beyond what you think is possible, though.
Exactly. That's why Marbles Beyond is a great name, because they go beyond. They push the borders of marble sports, and that's a great name for them, and it really describes exactly what that organization stands for.
Miko, you want to say something?
Yeah.
I cut you off.
Yeah,
earlier, sorry.
but Marvel guy actually mentioned the courts. Like we got, this year we had 3, very very big sponsorships. We had Envision Virgin Racing with Marvula E. We of course had last week tonight with John freaking Oliver, and we have Cosmocrats. For the for this the ongoing season. And but you're right. I do agree that these sports are still in their infancy, and the sport, as I mentioned, is still evolving. So there's still going to be So to me, it's like I wouldn't be too harsh when whether it's Yele, whether it's Fubica, whether it's NASMARB, they decide to change something. Because they want to improve, So I'm just saying, be on the lookout for that, and I wouldn't necessarily be too harsh with that. But yeah, like I said, it's been an absolutely crazy year.
Yeah. I think that is a great way to label the past year. I would love if you guys emailed in, if you're listening, and kind of tell us what was your favorite part of 2020. What was the most important part of 2020 marble sports wise for you?
I think we do have one email to read, maybe 2.
I think we're gonna put
I think we're going to delay the emails until next week because we wanted
it's
to
just
really
it's just the one
cover the 2020.
email.
I mean, we're over time right now by a lot, so we're going to delay it to next week so we can give it the time it's due, of course. And we're going to wrap up the episode. We're gonna Woff's gonna take us out in a second, and we will see you guys next week for more Marble Sports Worldwide Podcasting. Ricochet.
Thanks again for having me on.
Thank you, Mikotan, by the way. Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Mikotan.
I knew I had something I had to say before Woff took us out. Thanks, Mikotan, for coming on. As always, or as at least in the last 2 times, you've been absolutely wonderful and very insightful on Marble Sports. And we hope to have you on in the future. So, yeah.
Thanks again. It was a pleasure to be on here.
Awesome.
Pleasure having you. All right, then. With that being said, I think that's all. Hopefully the new year was great for everybody. Hopefully things will be way better than 2020. Fingers crossed. Roll on, Marble Sports fans.